Marilyn Bo. I'm a program officer in the Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Convention. And this is my pleasure today to provide you with a briefing on the key outcomes of the recent face-to-face segment of the meetings of the conferences of the parties to the Basel, Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions. The webinar will be structured as traditionally. I will provide you with a presentation of around half an hour, and then we will start a session of questions and answers. I will start my presentation with some key highlights on the meetings. As you remember, the 15th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Basel Convention, BC COP 15, as well as the 10th meetings of the Conferences of the Parties to the Rotterdam and Stockholm Conventions, RC COP 10 and SC COP 10, have been held in two segments because of the COVID-19 situation. So they had the first online segment, which was held from the 26th to the 30th of July 2021, so last year already. And they just had their face-to-face segment, which took place from the 6th to the 17th of June 2022 in Geneva, Switzerland. The meetings also included a high-level segment, which was held on the 1st of June 2022 in connection with the Stockholm Plus 50 international meeting in Sweden. The theme of the meetings was Global Agreement for a Healthy Planet, Sound Management of Chemicals and Wastes. The HLS as well as the face-to-face segment of the meetings were very well attended. For the HLS, we had around 100 ministers as well as other high-level representatives that attended the segment. And for the face-to-face segment of the COPs, we had approximately 1,500 delegates, which represented around 160 parties and 130 observers. So we had indeed very well attended meetings and HLS. During the face-to-face segment of the COPs, numerous decisions were taken. For BC COP 15, we had in total 28 decisions taken. For the Rotterdam COP 10, a total of 16 decisions. And for the Stockholm COP 10, around, we had 22 decisions taken. It is to be noted that 7 of those decisions are common decisions to the 3 COPs on joint issues. I would like now to turn to the specific key outcomes of the Basel Convention COP 15. And I would like to start with the landmark amendments that were adopted by the COP 15, which refers to the amendments to e-waste entries. Those were amendments that were proposed by Ghana and Switzerland, and they amended annexes 2, 8 and 9 of the conventions regarding the e-waste entries. The intention with those amendments is to add non-hazardous electronic and electrical wastes to the Annex 2 to the convention, which is listing wastes requiring special consideration. So with those important and significant amendments, non-hazardous e-waste are covered by the provisions of the conventions, and in particular, transboundary movement of hazardous wastes and non-hazardous e-waste now will be the subject of the prior informed consent procedure required by the convention. So those are indeed very important amendments for the protection of human health and the environment from the negative effects of e-wastes globally. The decision, while adopting the amendments, also require that the amendments become effective on the 1st of January 2025. So this is then the landmark decision of the BC COP 15. The COP 15 adopted also very significant decisions on technical matters, in particular on the adoption of technical guidelines, as you can see on the slide. So BC COP15 adopted 3 sets of updated technical guidelines on POPs wastes. So those were the updated technical guidelines to address the POPs listed by the Stockholm COP9 in 2019. So those were dicofol and PFOA. BC COP15 also adopted the updated technical guidelines on mercury wastes, on technical guidelines also on incineration by disposal operation D10 and R1. The COPs also adopted technical guidelines on disposal in specially engineered landfill D5. So indeed, from that slide, you can see indeed the important decisions and work that was undertaken by the COP15. Now, turning to other key important outcomes of the meeting, you can see that the COP initiated still some work on the technical matters and technical guidelines in particular. The COP considered that further work was needed on the updating of the technical guidelines on plastic wastes, and therefore adopted a decision, a process decision, to continue the work on the updating of the technical guidelines until the next COP, COP16. On the similar work was also requested for the technical guidelines on POPs wastes. This is linked to the fact that the Stockholm COP10 listed a new POPs to its annexes, so Annexes A. So it listed PFH excess, its salts, and PFH excess related compounds to Annex A. Therefore, the Stockholm COP requested the Basel appropriate bodies to update the relevant technical guidelines on POPs waste. So the Basel COP15 responded positively to this request and initiated the updating work in the upcoming intersessional work period. Additional work on technical guidelines is also expected on the e-waste technical guidelines. So there was indeed a COP decision requesting the updating of the e-waste technical guidelines to consider outstanding issues and also to reflect the e-waste amendments. The COP also demanded or requested the updating of technical guidelines on waste lead acid batteries, and requested also the development of new technical guidelines on other waste batteries. So that was a new development and a new track of work that is then being opened under the convention. On the technical guidelines, BC COP15 also under its agenda item on further consideration of plastic wastes also requested the updating of the technical guidelines on used and waste pneumatic tires. So as you can see, a lot of work has been requested or has been initiated by the COP in the intersessional period on technical guidelines. Now, continuing on technical matters, the COP under the item on national reporting took note of 3 practical guidance that had been developed in the intersessional period on the inventories of 3 waste streams, namely plastic wastes, obsolete pesticides and pesticide container wastes, and waste batteries containing lithium. So those practical guidance have been taken note of and finalized at the meeting, and now are for the use of parties and others when implementing the conventions and doing inventories for the objective of establishing their national reports under the convention. Another important track of work has been also advanced during the BC COP15, and it relates to the work on electronic approaches to the notification and movement documents. The COP decided to establish an intersessional working group that will provide recommendations on next steps for the work on e-notifications to the next meeting. So this is also an advancement in this regard, as there is a lot of interest from parties and observers on the issue of e-notifications under the convention. Now, turning to other key outcomes under the BC COP15, under the item relating to further consideration of plastic wastes, the COP invited comments from parties and observers on whether technical guidelines on ESM of rubber wastes and waste pairing and scrap of rubber should be developed, and also comments on whether or what could be the possible further activities that could be carried out under the Convention on Plastic Wastes. So those are also two tracks of work that are still continuing and could open to new areas of work. On strategic matters, the COP extended the small intersessional working group on the strategic framework and tasked the group to prepare findings and improve the strategic framework of the convention. It also initiated a new track of work to improve the functioning of the prior informed consent procedure under the convention. With respect to the work of the Implementation and Compliance Committee, COP15 adopted two guidance documents that were developed by the committee, namely the guidance document on insurance, bond and guarantee, and the guidance on transit TBM. The COP also approved the work program of the committee for 2022-2023. Other important outcomes of the BC COP15 relates to the work on legal clarity. COP agreed to consider further the amendments that were put forward by the European Union to amend Annex 4 of the convention. So this will be further considered by the COP at its next meeting, and there has been a process intersessionally agreed to further look at those amendments. The COP also adopted a practical manual for stakeholders to ensure that notifications of TBM meet the ESM requirements. So this will be part or included in the Convention's ESM toolkit and for the use of parties when implementing the Convention. On the issue of the Basel Convention Partnership Program, which you know has 4 partnerships currently, there was a significant development for the first partnership, which is the follow-up partnership to PACE, whereby the BC COP15 adopted an extended scope for the partnership, as well as a new name and the program of work of the partnership for 2022-2023. So the partnership is now called Partnership for Action on Challenges relating to e-wastes. On the 3 other partnerships of the Basel Convention Partnership Program, the COP reviewed progress made in the implementation of the partnerships. So, for example, those relates to the Plastic Waste Partnership, the Household Waste Partnership, and Enforce. With regard to the open-ended working group, the COP decided that the 13th meeting of the open-ended working group would be held over 3 days during the week of the 21st of February 2023 in Geneva. The COP also adopted its work program with an indication of priorities for a 3-day meeting. Now, I would like to turn to the main outcomes of the Rotterdam Convention COP10. And I would like to start with the decision to list 2 new chemicals to Annex 3 to the Convention. So the COP decided to amend its Annex 3, to amend the Annex 3 of the Convention to list decabromophenyl ether, DKBDE, as well as perfluorooctanoic acid, PFOA, 8 salt and PFOA related compounds to Annex 3. Those amendments will enter into force for all parties on the 22nd of October of this year. The chemicals listed in Annex 3, as you know, are the subject of the prior informed consent procedure under the Rotterdam Convention. However, the Rotterdam COP10 was not in a position to reach consensus regarding the listing of 5 other chemicals that it had in front of it for listing. The Rotterdam COP10 also considered matters related to the Chemical Review Committee, and there it appointed 17 experts that were nominated to serve as the CRC members for the period starting from the 2022 to the 2026. The COP also elected Ms. Nolozuko Gwayi to continue as CRC chair for her second term of office. Other main outcomes of the Rotterdam COP10 relates to compliance, whereby the COP adopted the program of work of the Compliance Committee for 2022-2023. It also adopted a decision on the implementation of the convention. So in that decision, it requested several things to parties to effectively implement a number of key provisions of the convention. Among those, it encouraged parties to ensure the effective operation of the Rotterdam Convention, for example, with respect to Articles 5, 6, and 10, for example, by submitted notifications of final regulatory actions, or proposals for listing severely hazardous pesticide formulations, or for providing import responses to listed chemicals. This decision also invited parties and others to provide information on a number of critical issues that assist with the implementation of the Rotterdam Convention. Among those requests or invitations for information, it invited parties, non-parties, industry, civil society, and other stakeholders to provide data on international trade, on chemicals listed or recommended for listing under the convention. In addition to that, the Rotterdam COP10 also took a decision on enhancing the effectiveness of the convention. Among other things, the decision requests the Secretariat to implement, subject to the availability of resources, the activities proposed in the information dissemination strategy. Now, I would like to turn to the main outcomes of the Stockholm Convention COP10. And as referred before, the COP10 decided to amend Annex 1 to the convention to list perfluorohexane sulfonic acid, PFH-XS, its salt, and PFH-X related compounds to Annex A without specific exemptions. So as you know, this chemical is a PFAS, perfluoroalkyl substance, which has been widely used in stain-resistant fabrics, firefighting foams, and food packaging. Now, by being listed in Annex A, it is targeted for elimination, meaning that substance listed in this annex may no longer be produced, used, imported, or exported by parties to the convention. So now turning to the Persistent Organic Pollutants Review Committee, the Stockholm COP10 appointed 17 experts that will serve as POPROC members for the period from 2022 to 2026. The COP also requested the POPROC to identify by the 15th of July an interim chair to preside over the 18th meeting of the committee, and it will consider the election of the chair at its next meeting. Other main outcomes of Stockholm COP10 relates to specific exemption. The Stockholm COP10 cancelled exemptions that were available for hexobromociclododecane, pentachlorophenol, and technical endosulfan, as there were no longer any registrations from parties for those specific exemptions. The Stockholm COP10 also considered the reports from POPROC on the review of information related to specific exemptions for short-chain chlorinated paraffins and DKBDE. And because information was not sufficient to provide a full-fledged recommendations on those chemicals, POPROC requested further information to finalize the reports for COP11, and that was taken on by the COP in its decision. So the decision indeed also requests further information on those two chemicals by parties to be able to make more comprehensive reports for COP11. Then on the issue of DDT, the COP initiated an intersessional process of consultations on a possible phase-out plan with the parties that are on the DDT register at the end of January of next year. So it gives some time for parties that are currently on the register to reevaluate, reassess the need to be part of this register for acceptable purposes of DDT. On the issues of PCBs, the Stockholm COP10 urged parties to step up their efforts by immediately implementing action to eliminate the use of PCBs in equipment by 2025 and by achieving the environmental sound management of PCB waste by 2028 in line with the Convention's objectives. On the issues of BDEs, it conducted an evaluation or review of the continued need for the specific exemption under the BDEs listed in 2009. And it indeed required, among other things, or requested parties to assess the continued need for such exemption for the next evaluation, which is taking place at COP12. On guidelines and guidance, lots of outcomes also there. So lots of guidelines and guidance were updated or developed in the intersessional periods to address the chemicals that were listed at the COP in 2019. So the first one is the technical guidelines on POPs waste, as mentioned before. So as you know, there is this cooperation between the Stockholm COP and the Basel COP. So the Stockholm COP welcomed the adoption of the technical guidelines on POPs wastes, as updated by Basel, and also invited the Basel appropriate bodies to update relevant technical guidelines with regard to the newly listed POP PFHXS. So I had mentioned that before, that this will be part of the intersessional work under Basel to update the technical guidelines for the new listed POP. The Stockholm COP10 also welcomed the newly developed guidance on BAT and BEP for the use of hexabromociclododecane and pentachlorophenol, and also for PFOA and PFOS, as well as the PBDs. So those were indeed guidance developed in the intersessional period. The COP also took note of a number of revised or new guidance that aimed at assisting parties to develop and updating their national implementation plans. So those were guidance on inventories and on identification of alternatives for dicofol and PFOA. So those were indeed noted by the COP for use now. The COP also noted or took note of the draft guidance on the identification and management of POP contaminated sites. With respect to the funding, so the Stockholm COP10 took a decision also on the financial mechanism of the convention. So this is a rather large decision that was adopted, structured in 6 different parts. Part 1 of the decision provides for the new guidance that will be provided to the GEF regarding the strategic priorities under the conventions for funding. So this new guidance will be indeed provided to the GEF for consideration for its programmatic areas of work for 2022-2026 when funding projects for the implementation of the Stockholm Convention. The part 3 of the decision on the financial mechanism welcomed the report on the 5th review of the financial mechanism. For you to know that this report was already forwarded to the GEF after the decision that was adopted by the Stockholm COP10 at its online segment. So that was already with the GEF for the GEF 8 negotiations, replenishment negotiations. Now the decision requests the GEF to indicate how the report on the 5th review of the financial mechanisms has been reflected in GEF 8 replenishment outcomes and also in its implementation. The convention, also, the decision, sorry, also took note of the report on the assessment of funding needs by developing countries and parties with economies in transition for the implementation of the convention. You know, this is an exercise done every 4 years through questionnaires. On the issue of PCBs, as we've seen before, the objectives for achieving the sound management of PCBs are coming up very soon. There was indeed an assessment of funding assessment done on the elimination of PCBs under the convention. And so this was used by the COP, and the COP indeed took note of the projected funding gap for achieving the convention's objectives related to PCBs. And it urged the GEF to explore any possible options to provide enhanced support and to countries to reach those goals, and also to strongly encourage others like countries, UN entities, NGOs to provide complementary support to parties to reach those PCBs objectives. This slide presents other outcomes that were reached by the Stockholm COP10. So on national reporting, the COP urged the parties to submit their 5th national report by the end of August of this year. You know, highlighting that the submission of national report is critical for the convention's effectiveness evaluation, as well as other evaluations that are done under the convention's processes. The decision on reporting also highlighted or requested the Secretariat to further improve and update the electronic reporting system, taking into account the revisions to the reporting format that were agreed on the PCB section of the format, as well as to also reflect the chemical that will be newly listed in Annex A to the Convention. On effectiveness evaluation, Stockholm COP10 requested the Effectiveness Evaluation Committee to continue to perform its tasks according to the framework that was agreed. And it is expected that the Effectiveness Evaluation Committee will complete its work and prepare a report on the effectiveness evaluation of the Convention to COP11 for its consideration. On the GMP, the COP also requested the Global Coordination Group to finalize the global monitoring report for the next COP, COP11. And that report should include evaluation of changes in POPs concentrations over time. And as you know, this report will also be considered as part of the process for the effectiveness evaluation of the Convention. So now I would like to zoom in on the decisions adopted by the COPs on joint issues, starting with technical assistance. So the three COPs took note of the report that was prepared by the Secretariat on technical assistance needs. So this is also an exercise, an assessment that is done every two COPs every 4 years. It also, the three COPs also noted the report on the implementation of the previous technical assistance plan and welcomed the new plan for the years 2022 to 25, sorry. And among other things, requested the Secretariat to implement this plan in cooperation with other actors. As you might know, the evaluation of the performance and sustainability of Basel and Stockholm regional centers would be conducted at the next COPs in 2023. The three COPs also adopted a joint decision on cooperation with the Minamata Convention. So this decision aimed at mirroring the decisions that were adopted by the Minamata Convention COP3 and COP4. So the decision is similar to those decisions of Minamata. And in a nutshell, they request the Executive Secretary of the BRS conventions to continue to cooperate with the Minamata Convention on relevant matters, and also to implement shared services on cost recovery basis in line with the programs of work and budget adopted for the conventions. Another decision that is joint to the three conventions is the decision on international cooperation and coordination. So here, lots of different things were decided. Guidance was provided indeed for enhanced cooperation with a large number of bodies, including with UNEP. Regarding the issue of cooperation, enhanced cooperation with UNEP, at this last meetings, the parties agreed to provide a strengthened mandate to the BRS conventions to participate in the implementation of relevant UNIA 5.2 resolutions, in particular the resolution to establish an INC for the to prepare a legally binding treaty to end plastic pollution, and also to participate in the implementation of the resolution to establish a science policy panel to contribute further to the sound management of chemicals and wastes and combat pollution. So a very clear mandate for enhanced cooperation on the implementation of those UNIA 5.2 resolutions came up from the recent BRS COPs. The recent COPs also requested enhanced cooperation on other clusters, on the climate change and on the biodiversity clusters. So that was triggered by two reports that had been prepared by the BRS Secretariat, actually in cooperation with the Minamata Convention Secretariat. And so based on those reports, further actions on enhancing cooperations with the climate change and biodiversity clusters were requested by the COPs. As you can see on the slide, also a decision or joint decision on combating illegal traffic was adopted by the three COPs. This next slide provides additional joint decisions that were adopted. The main one is the adoption of budgets and programs of work for the three conventions for the biennium 2022-2023. So here the programs of work and the budgets that were adopted are mainly a continuation of the activities of the biennium 2020-2021. They foresee a small increase of 0.5% overall for the three conventions budgets over the biennium. Other joint decisions relates to the clearinghouse mechanism and from science to action. The three conferences of the parties also adopted the decisions on the venue and dates of the next meetings of the COPs, and accepted the offer of the Bahamas to host the next meetings of the COPs from the 8th to the 19th of May 2023 in the Bahamas. So the next meetings of the COPs would be held in the Bahamas already in May 2023. Now this concludes my presentations on the key outcomes of the meetings. The next slides presents a little bit the parallel events that took place during the 2 weeks of meetings, starting with the 45 side events that were held during the meetings, which provided indeed important opportunities for parties and for stakeholders to share experience and best practices for the implementation of the convention. So very active side events at the last meetings of the COPs. We had also the plastic forum, which took place from the 8th to the 10th of June and included several events, including a hackathon, a photo exhibition, as well as a social media challenge, as well as elimination of the Palais of Nations. And also this plastic forum, culminated with the Plastic is Forever campaign. And this concluded by videos from two ambassadors, celebrities ambassadors to the BRS conventions, highlighting the important work of the conventions for the environment and human health. And in particular, the video from Pierce Brosnan and his son calling for actions towards the implementation of the Basel Convention to address the plastic waste pollution. So a link has been provided on the slide. Now, we wish to turn to the follow-up to the COPs. So last Friday, follow-up letters have been sent to parties and observers, setting out calls for information, calls for nominations, as were included in the COP decisions. So this triggered the intersessional work now, leading us to the next meetings of the COPs in May 2023. So the ensuing slides are just tables with all the calls for nominations and information that you can find on those follow-up letters. They're also on the web pages of the conventions. But those I'm not going to go into the details of the slides, but are just there for your ease of reference. But it shows the amount of work that will take place intersessionally, despite the short or compressed period we have until the next COPs. So I would like to conclude with this slide on the photo album of the COPs, and I would like to thank the COP presidents, the bureaus, all the participants of the BRS COPs for all the work, the hard work they did during the 2 weeks, and all the support indeed they provided all the 2 weeks. And this then concludes the presentation on the key outcomes of the BRS COPs, and remain available for any possible questions or comments on the outcomes or on the follow-up to the meetings. Thank you very much for your attention. So to start the session, you can raise your hand.